This is a virtual reading of Conspirators, To Each His Own Agenda by Matt Gupta.
Chapter 58. The King's Marble City. The city was taken and it was made official. Alistair made it clear that the army would simply occupy the city, that no looting or razing would take place. It was very different from the occupation of Gladium. He wanted the city to be liberated from the ilk of Ignatius, and not a brutal destruction of a city such as this. But the occupation was bloody, however, and the city did receive immense damage. The time it took for Alistair to declare the occupation allowed for most of the city to be sacked. Surprisingly, the people of the city welcomed Alistair after the shock of the battle was over. Though many knew of what had happened and what he had done to take the city, the presence of the army patrolling the streets and not attacking them was a welcome sight. Though several incidents had occurred throughout the city, the balance of the mood was in Alistair's favour. Alistair had taken residence in the citadel. In order to give the impression he felt bad about attacking the city, he had allowed the House of Healers to use his own residence for healing the wounded and disposing of the dead. They knew it was a ploy, but a welcome one. Alistair's residence could have held at least 4 of the House of Healing easily. Alistair had also sent an unbelievable amount of money to help the wounded, completely buying out the linen, cotton and silk trades overnight to accommodate. He'd already begun the rebuilding work. He'd been in the city for nearly 8 days now. He'd put half of his army to rebuild the breach in the wall. They were making good progress, but only a few men could work the wall at any one time. The other half were dealing with the dead, taking the corpses from the city to be disposed of with as much dignity as they could. The whole of Felthor's army had been put to guarding the walls from any further attack. Very quickly, the city was returning to normality. Alistair had imposed martial law to help keep the peace, so for the first time in centuries, the city was quiet. The nobility had protested the matter, saying that martial law would break the city's commerce. Alistair would have compensated the city for it, but Felthor did it for him. "You're too eager to spend your coin," he had advised Alistair one evening, as they came back from riding through the streets, handing coins to the homeless and displaced. "The Citadel guards have shown us the first of Ignatius's hidden vaults." Alistair smiled to him. In that vault alone he had over 30 million gold coins. "We could rebuild the entire city 3 times over with that alone. I'm not worried." "I'll remind you that you said that," Felthor shook his head. "Unless we get some kind of income in, the vaults will run dry and the crops will wither. Very soon," he added, thinking of the ruined harvest that his troops had caused. "We will be fine, my friend," Alistair reassured him, apparently reading his mind. "Have faith. It is the beginning of summer. More harvest will come." He looked out onto his city from the Fountain Court garden. He had seen the city many times from here, but he had never appreciated the view like this. He owned this city now. King Alistair. He turned and went into the citadel, helped along by one of his knights. He took the winding corridors until he came to the citadel council chambers. There were few nobles left in the city. Those who were known to Alistair to be with Ignatius had been stripped of their rank, but otherwise unharmed. What happened after that wasn't his concern, something he made public knowledge. It allowed him to have them eliminated without doing it himself, and the people had been quick to do his unofficial bidding and had killed many of the corrupt men in great displays of butchery. The men that remained were his own, Falthor's and the moderates. under the thumb of Camirvan. It was the subject of today's meeting. "My lords," he called to bring silence, taking his place at the top of the council. Falthor took the place of one of the consuls. "Shall we begin?" The old man staggered to his feet, wheezing. He was badly bruised and had apparently found no shelter from the attack. His body shook horribly, as if he were about to collapse in front of them all. "We are gathered to bring justice to the nobleman Camirvan." Camirvan stepped forward. The man stepped up and made his way into the middle of the circular room, looking up at Alistair. "May the Father be just to you." "My lord," Alistair said, standing up. "Do you have any ties to the former Ignatius of House Steward?" "No, my lord." Camirvan stood tall, despite his bruised face. "I consider his imprisonment of me the end of any ties between us." "So when you met my army at the city walls and threatened death and destruction against them, you were doing so under Ignatius's orders as your dictator?" Falthor demanded. "Yes, my lord." "And if you had not been arrested, would you have led the assault?" Camirvan sighed. "No, I am not a military man. But had events unfolded as they had, I would have done my duty as a consul and taken my post." "No, you are not." Alistair was in simple agreement, ignoring the rest of the declaration. "Your brother, on the other hand, is. Cameron joined us. Why didn't your father and older brother?" "My father does what he does. I did what I did because I care for my own survival. Surrendering is a good way to survive." "No, it wasn't." Camirvan shook his head. "If I had surrendered, I would have to face Ignatius before I faced you. He does not deal with treachery well." "None do," Falthor agreed. "If we killed every man who claimed they were just following orders, we would be the lords of bones and rotting flesh." Alistair was in agreement. "I understand your predicament and your honesty moves me. Can you convince your father to join our cause and swear fealty to me?" Camirvan had the grace to have his answer prepared. "No, my lord. My father is a stonewall supporter of Ignatius. He supplied half of the men that you killed in this city. He has another 10,000 men in his keep. He will wage war with you as long as he has a chance to win." Falthor nodded. "With Ignatius gone, what will your father do?" "Form an alliance of hatred and fight against you. You'll need my help to defeat him. My brother is an accomplished warrior, and my uncle more so." "Your house will prove to be quite irksome," Alistair hissed. "As the Lord of the Marble City, I pronounce you not guilty of treason. Do not think you are forgiven, sir. You will work with us to destroy your father's house. If and when your father refuses to swear fealty to me, I will renounce your family's claim on their lands, and you will lose everything. Then we shall see if you have any use to me." This was as good as a death sentence for Camirvan, but he bowed and retreated as if he was ignorant of this concept. The justice continued, taking up much of the day. Nobles and lords from all over the kingdom had come to publicly swear their fealty to Alistair, despite the fact he hadn't been crowned yet. Alistair spent the rest of his day in his office, ignoring the healer's protests. Falthor was waiting for him with Turgon, who was walking again, albeit slowly, with a crutch. "I think that went well," Falthor smiled. "We have nearly 100 new lords behind us." "We have 100 new lords on their knees when they are in public," Alistair corrected, as he attempted to sign a paper with his left hand. His right was still bandaged and hanging in a sling. "We need to send them bribes. Send 1,000 gold to them each." "That much?" Falthor questioned. "I need to buy out their loyalty outright, not just rent it." "We should just tear out the citadel and replace it with creatures of our own making," Turgon grumbled. "It will be much cheaper. If our own men in the citadel see that we're rewarding our enemies so much and not them, we'll lose their loyalty. If we spend all of our money on bribes, then we will find ourselves very broken, Felthor added, airing his previous concerns, even with the money we took from Ignatius. This is what we will do, Alistair snarled, putting an end to any further discussion. But you are correct. Send 6,000 to each of our own supporters. And empty our entire household, Felthor demanded. The money will take care of itself. Alistair rubbed his head, growing tired of the debate. Where are my generals? On their way. Pillimore is draining our wine supply, and Baranis is probably working the tavern wenches to death. Don't jump to conclusions, Consul, Baranis said, as she entered with Lord Bane and the other generals of the coast. And you have not earned the right to comment on what is inside my legs. Why not? Felthor made a face of mock hurt. Half the kingdom seems to know about what's in your legs. Yes, they do, Baranis agreed. But you won't. Nor will you, she added to Turgon. I don't fuck cripples. Turgon huffed. A whore general with standards. If whores do not fuck, then the world is truly ended. Baranis laughed. Your taunts will not gain you what you want. She approached Alistair with booming strides. We have scoured the western quarter. No man or woman has seen Ignatius. Do you trust the men you questioned? Felthor said, suspiciously. No, Baranis said. I trust in the pain they suffered when they lied to me. And what pain did they suffer? You have one cock, my lord, Baranis smirked. Now I have hundreds. Only a faithless man takes a man's cock as torture, Turgon shivered in disgust. I am no man, Baranis laughed, the ink of a new tattoo shining on her neck. The men in question will not miss what was taken. I will not have my soldiers mercilessly murder my people, Alistair sighed. Your tactics must change. Are we not here to kill traitors? Pillimore declared, as he fell in through the door, filling the room with the smell of wine. We are here to survive the doom that is on our doorstep, Alistair reiterated. We will not last long if we destroy the people we are here to protect. The men grow bored in the city, Lord Bane complained politely. They were promised loot and riches, yet they were denied when we occupied the city without plunder. If the men lack control when the time comes to violence, then the lack of discipline is to be blamed on their master. They need distraction. Wine and women will only go so far. Indeed, Baranis agreed. They need an enemy to fight. After they fight, they need to fuck. If they just fuck, they grow fat, man and women alike, and have no purpose in life. Send the army out to Ignatius's realm and have them destroy what is left of his forces. Begin with Camervin's family. And leave the city defenseless? Alistair demanded. No. The city fell because the leadership abandoned their senses and left the city void of a worthy force. That cannot happen again. We need a full standing army present at the city. We have still had no word of Aquila and his fleet. He may return any day with an army behind him, or pirates may attack in revenge of their defeats. We must remain here. Then we must raise more armies, Lord Bane put in. Where can we find more men? Men will always be found, Pillimore rumbled. Women too, he nudged Baranis. Tales of our victories will spread and men will swarm to us. Everyone was in agreement. Very well, Alistair closed his eyes. He was growing tired. Leave me. I must work before the day is done. Everyone bowed and left. Alistair took several moments to compose himself, take a cup of wine, and then went to his next appointment. His knights had been ready to escort him to the High Temple. They took the long route, so he could be seen in the city by the troops. After a long time, they reached the High Temple. The dead still littered the stairs, but they had been cleared to the side and were covered in white sheets ready for funeral rites. "Wait here," he said to his knights. "I recommend we accompany you, my king," his captain complained. "There are too many eyes here." "I cannot enter the high temple armed and with an escort." Alistair chuckled at the thought. "Not again, at least. I will be fine. I can still wield a sword should things turn ill." He touched his sword hilt, which now rested on his right hip to be pulled with his left. "And if I become overwhelmed, I will scream very loudly." The captain forced a smile and watched Alistair climb the stairs. Then his men took position to block anyone else from entering, their hands on their swords. The doors had been jammed open. One had fallen off its hinges completely. Alistair had reinstated the temple council with all of its original members. The law of the fathers was beyond that of a king, and even Alistair could not expel the high priest, despite him being one of Ignatius's creatures. Not yet, anyway. He navigated the corridors to the College of Cardinals. The council was sitting by a long table, with the high priest in the middle. "Prince Alistair," he sat up proudly and spat into a bowl. "To what do we owe the honor of your presence? I have come for the Father's blessing on my house, my campaign, and my reign as king." Alistair didn't bother with courtesy. He wasn't going to be dishonest in his faith. The high priest spat again. "You entered this city under arms. You raided this very temple and broke every vow that you swore on your sword. I can tell you that very rarely bodes well with the Father above." Alistair laughed and cut straight to the chase. "You know why I am here? I am here to show the people of this city that my intentions are noble. I know that they are, but the people will have doubts. What must I do to get you holy men to do that?" He was speaking the high priest's language now. "We shall deliberate with ourselves," he said, after a moment of feigned conferring. "We must examine your own piety and conviction. If we find you worthy, you shall have what you wish." "If you find my gold worthy, you mean," Alistair thought to himself. "I thank you, high priest. I shall not keep you." Alistair returned to the citadel in a good mood, but it immediately went as soon as he sat down in his office and began his paperwork. Callisto came to his side with Rufus and food, but they proved little comfort for him. Several hours passed, where Alistair worked through a number of scrolls and put his seal on a number of policies. His left arm ached, not used to the strains of penmanship. Suddenly, the citadel bell rang. Rufus started from his sleep and began to cry. Alistair flew to the balcony of his room and called out to his lookouts. "What is it?" he shouted. "The river," one of them shouted. "Black sails." "Pirates," Alistair gasped. Felthor immediately arrived, framed in the doorway. "Assemble your army at the Villum." "The wall is still under repair," Felthor said. "If they attack in force, the city won't be secure." "I am aware. Assemble your forces. Find Bane and the generals. Send riders to Pilimor and Baranis." There was no rush to assemble the army. The river was nearly 8 miles away. But even from the city, they could see a massive fleet, and when the fleet beached, a massive force disembarked. "My father," Alistair gasped from the gatehouse. "How many are there?" "With the numbers that have disembarked and those left," Felthor breathed out, doing the maths in his head. 100,000? Alistair swallowed. "At least the men will have the second fight they've been demanding." "We can handle this," Felthor reassured. Alistair toyed with the idea of attacking them before they could disembark fully, but the Villum wall would break up their formations and make them effective. The army reached the wall, but advanced no further. The army fidgeted on the spot for a while until one of the lookouts cried out. "Parley," he called. "They have the flag of truce." "Pirates negotiating." Falthor looked at Alistair through his helmet. "What is this?" "Let's find out. Send a return message. We'll take the First Legion." "Most of the Legion was destroyed by the Fountain Legion. We only have 2,000 men." "It'll be enough. We need to find out what this is." The Legion marched forward, with Alistair and Falthor at the front. They marched slowly and cautiously, allowing for Alistair's slow pace. It took a full hour to cross the Villum. Alistair had sent his scouts along the wall, and they had announced that there was no danger, but they would not gamble with Alistair's life. When they reached the newly repaired Villum wall, they were surprised to see that the only forces who had climbed it were the 3 men waving the banner of truce. "Where is your lord?" Alistair demanded, once his titles had been declared. "Our lord awaits beyond the wall," their leader said. "He waits to make peace with the High King of the Marble City." "You are of the kingdom?" Alistair stopped suddenly in surprise. "Yes, my lord," the bannerman nodded. He didn't stop waving the flag. "My king awaits you on the other side of the gate." "What do you mean?" Falthor demanded. But the men remained silent as they began to work the gate mechanisms. The gates opened with a heavy groaning of metal. They took in the sight for a moment. "Well," Falthor raised his eyebrows and almost laughed after a long moment of silence. "At least now we know what happened to the Fountain Legion."